And as we were discussing a little while ago, the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey's entertaining election antics continue today with a musical rendition of CPR. Take a look. Harmless fun or ever so slightly distasteful?
I don't think that's distasteful.
I mean,
everyone should learn how to do CPR. But I have to say, we've got an expert with us in the studio. He's here for the next item. But during that, Cameron Walker, our royal correspondent. Now, you trained as a vaccinator, Cameron.
I was, yeah, during the pandemic.
CPR, and you said Ed Davey was doing it wrong.
Well, I didn't say he was doing it wrong, Tom. I just said his arms look very bent towards me. But that song, "Staying Alive," is the rhythm you are meant to give CPR to.
Okay.
So there was a meaning behind that particular song.
Okay.
You're supposed to keep your arms sort of locked and straight.
Locked and straight, a little bit of a bend, but maybe not quite as much.
Not as much bend as...
but I'm certainly not an expert. I'll leave it to check on the NHS website.
So we shouldn't be too disapproving. We shouldn't be too disapproving of Sir Ed Davey. That is actually the tune that you're supposed to time your CPR with. Anyway, yes, joining us now is our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker.
Who's actually here to not talk about CPR.
Yeah, luckily there was no medical emergency inside Buckingham Palace last night when I was there, so it was all fine.
What did happen?
Yes.
Well, it was a state banquet for hosting. The King was hosting the Japanese Emperor and Empress, along with other members of the royal family. Beforehand, I get to go inside and smell the food. I don't get to eat it. But it was poached Scottish langoustines, if you want to know, baked fillets of Cornish turbot, and an ice cream bomb with peach sorbet for dessert, and lots of vintage wine, as you do.
Only
5
glasses.
glasses. Only 3 courses, but then you have 5 different wine glasses. For a toasting champagne wine glass, you've got red wine, white wine, presumably, and some others as well. Port for after the dessert as well. But what struck me was looking at the seating plan and the different name tags on the tables. And what I noticed was the King's principal private secretary, Sir Clive Alderson, the guy who's in charge of the official communication line between the King and his government, sat next to Sir Keir Starmer, not the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was sat next to a computer scientist. And obviously, we've all seen the recent polls, so I think perhaps it was a little bit sneaky of the person doing the seating plan to put him next to Sir Keir.
Is that a political move from Buckingham Palace?
Well, I'm sure the palace would deny any politics has been involved in this. Of course, the foreign official, I should say, of Japan has also insisted it's not a political visit. It's about forging certain relationships. But I think what we can say is it gave Sir Clive and the leader of the opposition a chance to have a chat for a couple of hours over dinner. Of course, nothing happens by accident, but all the elements of the state visit, which you'd usually have not in general election periods, such as the meeting in Downing Street, such as the speech in Westminster Hall in front of politicians, they are not happening. I should also point out that we had several cabinet ministers there who clearly are still ministers of the Crown, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Foreign Secretary David Cameron, Kemi Badenoch for Trade Secretary as well, and as we just saw giving CPR there, Sir Ed Davey, he was also at the state banquet.
Did
He did not. So we had politicians from across the spectrum, but I just thought it was very interesting placements of Sir Keir and the private secretary.
That is very interesting. I want to know, what champagne did they serve, Cameron? Do you have that information?
I've got Laurent, I can't pronounce this. Laurent Perrier Cuvée Rosé is the champagne they served.
Oh, what a treat,
yes,
eh?
And there was some vintage wine from 2014. And 2016 Chardonnay. So all the food, all the drink as well. Andrew Lloyd Webber was also there, a new Garter Knights, and some of his music, Phantom of the Opera, was played over dinner as well. A string quartet, though, so no singing, but it seems like a good day.
Doesn't look like there was a nod to Japan in the menu. Well, unless I'm mistaken.
Well, no, I don't think it was a Japanese dish, but of course the whole point of hosting somebody is you give them your traditional food. So that was perhaps why. We did have Japanese-style table settings. We had lots of flowers with perhaps a nod to Japan as well, and different table settings. But the roses came from Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle Gardens, who are being donated to charity today.
Now, when you had your special access beforehand and you got to sniff the food, I've always wondered this for the most powerful people in the world.
Yes.
Are there food tasters? Because back in the courts of old, Henry VIII would always have someone who tasted the food lest he be poisoned.
Yes.
Does King Charles have that?
Well, they do not comment, Tom, on security arrangements for the palace. I'm sure every chef in that building is heavily vetted before they receive the job, and I'm sure. But I do know that the King and the Queen, or the King at least, personally inspects the table settings before any guests comes in to a state banquet.
I'm laughing because you said lest they be poisoned. Earlier you said baguette. To beget something.
Yeah, to beget something to someone else, yeah.
And it's just, you know, I haven't heard these phrases from you.
Do you think
Old English phrases?
Old-fashioned, is that...
Well, I mean, I don't mind. It's just a change. It's just a change.
Oh, goodness, I've been
and our producer did laugh in my ear. That set me off.
I've been reading too many classical novels. That's
no, you know, why not? Why not, eh? But tell us, Princess Anne.
Princess Anne, yes. So her husband, Vice Admiral Tim Lawrence, has been spotted visiting her in hospital this morning. He did not speak to the media outside the hospital. She spent her third night. She's awake. She's conscious. She doesn't remember what happened. So that is why we're getting the medical details. The information from medical staff saying her injuries are consistent with an impact from a horse's head or a leg, but she can't tell us that herself, is what I'm reading between the lines.
That would suggest that it's really rather serious, Cameron.
Well, it would suggest that she's got a concussion and minor injuries. That's what she was told. I don't think it's quite so serious. The reason being is because although an air ambulance was dispatched to the scene, she went to hospital via a road ambulance. So there was no urgency in getting her to hospital by the looks of it, because Gatcombe Park in Gloucestershire is quite far from the Bristol hospital she's in. But we do have to be mindful that she's in her 70s now. Clearly, she has had quite a big impact from a horse, and they'll clearly be monitoring her for any updates. But as it stands, the latest guidance we're getting is she is expected to recover and be out of hospital towards the end of the week. But we'll wait and see.
Well, Cameron Walker, thank you very much for talking us through those three enormous stories there. Not least, the CPR. Well, still to come.